Hello, and welcome to POMA Does, a podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We provide a voice for osteopathic medicine and share insights on issues important to osteopathic physicians, residents, and students, as well as those who embrace the osteopathic philosophy. POMA's mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine in Pennsylvania for our members and their patients. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello and welcome to POMA Does. My name is Lisa Witherite-Rieg. I'm an osteopathic family physician, and I'm the 2022-23 president of the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. This episode of POMA Does is going to focus on POMA membership benefits. Joining me for this conversation are osteopathic physicians and physicians in training throughout all spectrums of their career. Let these gentlemen introduce themselves. Go ahead, Rick.
I'm Rick Johnson. I'm recently retired over the last year or two. I've been in Du Bois since 1991, PCM graduate, POMA member since somewhere in the mid-'80s. Retired about 2 years ago, and I'm a life member now.
Thank you, Rick. Vartan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Vartan. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm actually not a Pennsylvania native myself, but I'm a second-year medical student at the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine at Seton Hill. So I'm just in the southwest region of Pennsylvania. I'm soon to be on rotation, so I'm just finishing up my preclinical studying, and I've been on the POMA task force and a student delegate at some point. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Vartan. And Grant, tell us about you.
All right, my name is Grant Shermer. I'm a third-year family medicine resident in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Clarion, Pennsylvania, so not too far from my original home. I've been a POMA member ever since my first year of medical school. I went to Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. I've served on the professional guidance committee and have also given some lectures for POMA at the clinical assembly and have been kind of involved with the education pillar as well since, and am planning to continue my membership on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grant. And as I said, I'm Lisa Witherite-Rieg. I've been a POMA member since my residency, about 30 years or so. And it was at the encouragement of a physician at the hospital where I trained in Clarion, Pennsylvania, that I reach out to POMA for resources to help me in my education. So there's various levels of membership with POMA. Certainly there's active membership, which I am, life member, which Rick is, student membership, and just by nature of being an osteopathic student in the state of Pennsylvania at one of our osteopathic schools, you're a member. And Grant, yours is a little different. You're a resident member, and the cost for a resident membership currently is $25 a year for the first year and $50 a year for each year in training following that. Now, Grant, you're going to be graduating from your residency in a month and a half. And at that point, you'll be first year in practice, and we still have a benefit of a free membership for that first year in practice. So that's not automatic. That's one of those things that you have to apply for. So do you feel that that would be a beneficial thing for you to do?
Yeah, I think that's really nice that something like that's offered. You know, kind of getting to the end of residency, you start to get these letters in the mail from other organizations who are asking for your full dues and things. So kind of hits you all at once. So it's really nice that POMA offers that. I think it's good to be aware too that, you know, it's something you actively have to seek out, but, you know, obviously with all the benefits, it's well worth it.
And Rick, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be a life member?
I retired and I'm over 65. With the bylaws, you have to be a member for, I think,
30 years.
30 years, actively fully retired over the age of 65, and then it's applied to the district and then approved by the board. I started at 86 or 87. Yeah. Like Lisa, the physician I was rotating with, Terry Knapp, actually, who started us. There were two of us on that rotation, and more just to get acquainted with what's going on. But the behind the scenes stuff is much more active than people out in practice, unless they know, they don't know. The legislative committees, general practice, in the sense of running a practice. When I first started, they even had a group that would review contracts for you. So there's all kinds of things that you see that are not printed on a pamphlet. And just the camaraderie and just going to meetings and things.
And Vartan, from a student's perspective, what types of things have you noticed about your POMA membership or been involved in or impact that you've made?
Well, one of the first and most obvious things that I noticed before I even knew what POMA did and who they were is some of the monetary value items that were given, like the white coat is a nice touch. I've been working with some of the other student government and the SOMA representatives, and actually recently we were able to get all of the preclinical students a sketchy membership, which is essentially a learning tool, and it's already used by so many students. So to have that as a scholarship award is just such a great resource. I mean, of course, it's nice financially, but aside from that, I feel like at POMA has kind of opened my doors to relationships and some professional settings that I wouldn't have found myself in had I not been involved. And that comes from going to some of the board meetings and joining a work group like the technology work group to develop the podcast, and honestly just meeting people in a more casual setting. I mean, I wouldn't have found myself in the situation had I not just been, sitting and having dinner with some people from POMA that I would never have the chance to unless I had been involved. And part of that is, as you mentioned, the automatic enrollment. I wouldn't have known where to look or where to find it, but if we get emails, we get newsletters, and to the point where you go, okay, who are these POMA people? What do they want from me? And then you learn, and you're like, oh, this is a great thing.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have run across from POMA is some of the members actually block the POMA emails. And I would highly encourage you not to do that, because you wouldn't find out about things like sketchy, and you wouldn't find out about some of the CME opportunities that we have. So the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association, it is a professional organization. It was founded in 1903, and our mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine in Pennsylvania for our members and their patients. And we do this by advocating for osteopathic physicians and their patients, providing excellent educational opportunities, supporting osteopathic medical students and physicians in training, and providing opportunities for professional networking. So Vartan, you talked a little bit about the opportunities for students. I'm going to ask Grant to share his experience and some of the opportunities that he has had as a resident.
Yeah, so I think first I just want to kind of echo what Vartan said. That was a lot of my exposure as a medical student as well, which was awesome. But it really extended in through to the residency as well. Every year POMA offers different things to the residents, and some things are pretty consistent, like wellness grants, which our residency has been fortunate enough to receive on multiple occasions, where basically, you apply for this grant and then it helps fund a wellness activity for your resident, which is really great. Along with that, POMA has been helpful to help kind of link us up with board review materials with other associations. They've been helpful to help us with networking, meeting other residents locally around the area. And then also, questions about licensure and questions about future contracts and things, kind of like Dr. Johnson said earlier. We have a lot of questions around that, and POMA has always been a great resource to help us get those things answered.
So Grant, one of the things that you mentioned when you introduced yourself is the opportunity to lecture for POMA. And I do know that at one point your program director helped you on that lecturing circuit for the clinical assembly. Tell me about that experience and what benefit did you get from that?
Yeah, so I guess there's kind of a couple things. Scholarly activity is constantly something that you're seeking out in residency, whether it be to, fulfill requirements of your residency, or to kind of enhance your resume, or just, spread knowledge that you're passionate about. And then, so in my situation, there was an opportunity to lecture at the clinical assembly. Dr. Lisa helped me arrange that and kind of gave me an idea of a topic, and it was a great opportunity to, really pass along something that I commonly bring up in other lectures and other things I do for our residency. And that provided me a solid scholarly activity that I needed for my residency. And I also enjoyed doing, and was like would want to do again easily. And then beyond that, there's poster presentation opportunities and opportunities to present original research or whatever it is through POMA. So plenty of opportunities from that aspect.
So I also want to add, we also have through the POMA Foundation funding for original research. And right now there is a current grant available called Bright Ideas for resident students, practicing physicians, and other organizations to secure, $1,000 or $2,000 to get a bright idea off the ground. So Rick, one of the things you had mentioned was networking and interacting with people. Tell me a little bit about that.
My first meeting was at the Adams Mark, I believe, down by PCOM. Since moved to Valley Forge, and I'll be moving up to the Poconos. But every time I go back, and I've been going, I think I've hit every one since 86 or 87. You see people that you remember and new people that you haven't met before, but classmates and people that lecture. I've lectured a number of times at the political assembly, and just seeing people that I haven't seen for a year, because being in a geographically challenged area of Pennsylvania we don't get a lot of exposure to other than our local groups. And it's nice to get back and see if I saw somebody from my class last week when we were in Valley Forge that I hadn't seen. I see them every year, but it's nice to sit chat with them for a little bit. But it's nice to see people coming back to the convention. The hybrid convention is going to be here to stay, but that in person really does visit. Probably a group of physicians that are just as happy to sit at home in the corner and not have to go see anybody, but it really makes a big difference just to go out and see people.
I'd like to talk a little bit about my favorite, well, one of my two favorite things as a member benefit is the educational opportunities that POMA has. Between the clinical assembly, the District 8 seminar during the winter, the district programs that are available, and the Journal of the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association, POMA produces over 100 CME credits a year. So this past licensure cycle, I did a little experiment, and I decided I am going to see if I can get all of my requirements and all of my needed education through programs that POMA has produced. And as of last week, when I finished up the clinical assembly this past year, I have all of my requirements, and I still have 6 months. So that included the child abuse, that included the opioid requirement, the patient safety, the category 1A requirements. And we are certified by both AOA and ACCME. So I'm board certified by an osteopathic board. But if I were certified by an allopathic board, the programs and the credits that I have earned are relevant. So that's probably my favorite thing. And the fact that I can go right onto the POMA website or the POMA app and check my CME, find out what I need yet for requirements, and even print a report. So that's probably my most practical favorite thing. Vartan, what has been your favorite thing that you've experienced from being a POMA member, other than, we already talked about the stethoscopes and the white coats and your ability to work to get sketchy for students?
Right. I think as a student, aside from learning how to study medical school, we also are a little unsure of, where do you start in building your own network as a future physician? Like, how do you meet people that you may need to just call for help? Maybe what if you need to refer to someone, or you say, hey, I don't know what this is, could you help me out? But also just practical things like questions about rotation. How do I pick a specialty? What should I be doing to work towards this residency position? And I think meeting, a wealth of people who have already done that, who some of them work in resident positions, some of them teach, some of them do other things. There's someone that you can find relevant to what you want or what you may want. And I feel like that resource is invaluable, right? Sure, the monetary things are great, but nothing is more important than potentially finding a mentor or someone that at least give you some guidance and say, you should go here. You may like this and this, or you might like EM. You seem whatever that fits your personality. And I'm only 2 years into this, but I feel like I've already found a few people that I can give them a call and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I mean, that's better than going online on like a forum and saying, hey, what should I be doing? So I think that's very important. I think that's something that I look forward to having moving forward.
And that's what we, Rick and I and all the veterans, refer to as your osteopathic family. And I've been in various states, visiting different states, and I go to the AOA House of Delegates for the past gazillion years, and so is Rick. And you're going to see a camaraderie within Pennsylvania that is very, very unique. What do you think about that, Rick? Do you agree, disagree?
I agree with that. You can see the other states, they know each other, but it's just a different clique of group. And clique isn't a good word in the negative sense. It's just, it is a family. I want to go back to your CME thing. When I started out, the CME tracking was on your own time. And I made a point of keeping a little file. Anytime I did anything, I'd throw in there, and then I would take it out later and send it into the AOA and then to Pennsylvania. It's very nice that POMA has that tracking system now. It takes a lot of that burden off. I still tell people when they ask, the students or residents when I was working, that you should still keep your own file and just double check yourself. Don't count on it to be accurate. It's going to be accurate, but you have your backup. But that CME tracking is a big, again, another thing to take off your plate. You really don't have to be really concerned about because somebody's watching your back.
So anything else you folks want to add about the member benefits? And then I'm going to ask a couple closing questions. Okay, I'm going to ask Grant. Grant, what was your single most favorite thing that you've been able to experience with POMA?
I think that's tough. There's a lot of good things. I don't know if I should mention the goat yoga or if I should. No, I agree with what Vartan said, is basically, being able to make connections with people. And especially for me, kind of growing up in Pennsylvania and staying here, being able to see a lot of the doctors that I've worked with throughout my training, a lot of the physicians, and being able to kind of catch up with them, ask them questions, and kind of continue to make those connections and grow, in the osteopathic community and feel like a part of something. I think that's really what I like the best about it.
And one of the things we really didn't talk a whole lot about was advocacy. And POMA does advocate for all osteopathic physicians in the state of Pennsylvania, not just their members. And that takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and it really takes involvement. So, one of the things somebody asked me, why should I be a member? Because there's strength in numbers. And, we have at POMA dealt with issues like expanded scope of practice for non-physician clinicians, misrepresentation by their title of non-physician clinicians. And that's going to be something that doesn't go away. So advocacy is for everyone, but boy, it's a lot more effective when we have more people involved in that. So Rick, in the years that you've been a POMA member, what's your best, single most favorite experience you've had?
Lecturing at the conference. I think I have more fun doing lectures at the conference than just about anything. Besides meeting people at AOA and in Philly and the district, the lecturing was a lot of fun, and that's open to anybody that wants to, no matter what the topic is. It's a lot of work to put it together, but it's really fun. Give information to other people that you think is important, that they probably are going to say, that's not a bad, I like that idea type thing. So lecturing with you.
Great. And Vartan, how about you? In your couple years that you've been a POMA member, favorite thing that you've experienced?
I will probably have to say the minor league baseball game in Erie.
That was
just
fun.
because, yeah, it was so much fun. We got to, whichever students were able to attend, we had our own section in the stadium. We had hot dogs, we had sodas, we could just hang out, and it was just a very fun and a casual way to get to know people and watch a game. And I don't know, if just, there was none of this, oh, I'm a student, you're a physician. Everyone was just more of a colleague and saying, hey, could you help me with this? Oh, actually, I know someone. It's just everyone was mixed together really nicely. And like you said, the feeling of the family was already there.
Yeah. So I will say my favorite thing was this past conference, I was installed as the POMA president. And the support that I got after being pretty much shut down for 2 years due to, our current situation with the pandemic, the number of people that came out and the number of people that have offered me their support, both personally and professionally, has been just absolutely amazing. So that, and the award-winning District 12 getting a 5-foot, 2-inch trophy thanks to the goat yoga.
Can we put the trophy on eBay and then get tickets to the Stanley Cup?
Ooh. I got my Stanley Cup shirt on. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. And I want to thank our listeners. POMA memberships are now currently up for renewal. This can be done very easily through the POMA website at poma.org or on the POMA app. It's in the App Store under PA Osteopathic Medical ASSAC period. Membership can also be renewed through the mail. If you have any questions regarding your membership, the status of your membership, member benefits, please contact the POMA by email at poma@poma.org. That's poma@poma.org, or by phone at 717-939-9318. During regular business hours, Monday through Friday, there will be somebody, a live person, to answer your call. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for spending some time with me to talk about member benefits. And together, we can do more.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of POMA Does. Be sure to subscribe to POMA Does wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends and colleagues to tune in. Learn more about osteopathic medicine and POMA on our webpage, www.poma.org, and join the conversation on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or email us at poma@poma.org. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for another edition of POMA Does.